Dear students, today in this lecture we will study first de Broglie's hypothesis, second Davison-Germer experiment for the verification of de Broglie hypothesis. So let us see what is de Broglie's hypothesis. According to this hypothesis, a moving particle is associated with waves. These waves are known as matter waves or de Broglie waves. The question is, why did de Broglie put this hypothesis? So de Broglie said that our nature is symmetrical in many ways and the universe is filled with two things, matter and radiations. Since the radiations are having the dual wave particle nature, so matter must also have the dual nature. If it is so, what is the wavelength associated with de Broglie waves? So wavelength of de Broglie waves is lambda is equal to h upon p. H is Planck's constant and p is equal to mass into velocity, that is momentum of the particle. For writing this equation, de Broglie considered a photon of light having frequency nu. So let us see how this expression for wavelength lambda is derived. So momentum of photon P is equal to E by C. Here E is the energy of photon, that is h nu divided by C, or it is h upon lambda. So therefore lambda is equal to h upon P. So this is the wavelength of the photon having the momentum P. So de Broglie said that this equation is equally valid for moving particles also. That is how he said that the wavelength of the matter waves or de Broglie waves is again given by lambda is equal to h upon P. Now this equation is valid only for the subatomic particles. It is because of the smallness of the Planck's constant, that is h here is 6.625 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. So due to small value of this Planck's constant, this de Broglie waves or matter waves are observable only for subatomic particles like electron, proton, neutrons, etc. Matter waves cannot be observed for the macro world, like for a cricket ball moving with some velocity. So sometimes in numerical problems we are given the kinetic energy of the particle. Then what will be the de Broglie wavelength? So if K is kinetic energy, then K is equal to P square by 2m and P is equal to square root of twice m K. So therefore de Broglie wavelength lambda is equal to h upon twice of m K. If the particle is charged, say an electron, which is accelerated by say potential V. Now for an electron accelerated by potential V, K, kinetic energy K is equal to electronic charge multiplied by the potential V, and de Broglie wavelength lambda is equal to h upon twice of mass and K is E into V. Here h Planck's constant, mass of the electron, and E is the charge of the electron, all are constant. If we substitute their values, we get 12.27 divided by square root of V angstrom. So this expression we will use in Davison-Germer experiment. For example, here if suppose V is equal to 100 volts, then lambda is equal to 1.227 angstrom. So the point is, if we are given the value of the potential, we substitute the value of V here, we can calculate the de Broglie wavelength associated with the particle. Now let us see how this wavelength lambda was verified by using the Davison-Germer experiment. So the Davison-Germer experiment, here this is the diagram corresponding to the Davison-Germer experiment. Here F is the filament heated by current from the low tension battery. A is the anode having the variable potential V, and the diagram in this block is called as the electron gun. C is the nickel crystal, and D here is the electron detector. So the electrons which are emitted by the filament F, they are accelerated by this potential V, and this beam of electrons is made to be incident on the nickel crystal. The electrons are scattered at angle phi, and the electron detector measures the value of collector current. Now the question is that how these electrons are scattered. Now in the nickel crystal there are various planes. These planes reflect these electrons in the same way as a mirror reflects the incident light, and which is shown in this diagram. Here this is 1, 2 and 3. These are the planes in the nickel crystal, and from the upside is coming the incident beam, and we are getting here the diffracted beam. Theta here is called glancing angle, phi angle of scattering, and theta, this angle is again theta. Now we plot a graph between the kinetic energy of the electron and the collector current measured by the electron detector, and this graph is shown in this figure. On y-axis we plot the collector current, on x-axis we take the kinetic energy of the electrons, and we see in this graph that for the scattering angle phi 50 degree and potential V is equal to 54 volts, a peak is observed in this graph. Now let us check mathematically the wavelength associated with the electrons. Now for an atomic plane, we have theta plus phi plus theta is equal to 180 degree. Since phi here is 50 degree, so we get from this equation theta is equal to 65 degree. Now by Bragg's law in X-ray diffraction, we have 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda. Here D is equal to 0.91 angstrom for nickel crystal, and n, that is called order of diffraction maxima, and this is equal to 1. So therefore twice D is 0.91 and sine of 65 degree, that is equal to lambda, and this gives wavelength lambda of the electrons to be 1.65 angstrom. Now let us now check what is the wavelength lambda associated with the electrons by the de Broglie's hypothesis. So by de Broglie's hypothesis, lambda is equal to 12.27 upon square root of V, and V here is 54 volts, so angstrom, and we get it 1.66 angstrom. So we see here that the value of the wavelengths calculated for the electrons by the diffraction or by the de Broglie's hypothesis, they are in close agreement. So therefore this experiment confirms the wave nature of the matter, and we say now definitely that matter is having the dual nature. Thank you.